Greetings and welcome to the live stream. I'm Robert Phoenix, and tonight is the 11th of December, 2016. Welcome back. I apologize for last week where I was essentially asleep at the wheel as I tried to put this together and bring up what was happening. I have to tell you, it was 90 minutes of the best media I've ever done. Somewhere out there in the etheric plane, somebody caught it. Some intelligence, either domestic or not, has picked up on it, and it's part of some record, Akashic or otherwise. Welcome. How is everybody tonight? We live in a very uncertain world, or at least it feels that way currently. The election, which has taken place, has declared a winner, and that winner is President-elect Donald Trump. But it seems as though there are forces doing everything they can in order to not allow this victory and decision to become manifest in our lives. Now, whether or not you like Donald Trump or not, whether you believe him or not, to some extent is completely irrelevant, because a process, for better or worse, has occurred, and that process was the United States presidential election. And there were a number of elections that have occurred where the outcome was significantly in doubt, or even the results themselves might have been questioned or imperiled. And yet we've never seen anything like this before from any other standing president claiming that a third party came in and decided to interfere with our elections. Where was Obama prior to all this, when it was all happening? I mean, it's pretty clear that we're in a point in time, and I talked about this on the Friday show, and I promise you we're going to get into astrology tonight. And what we're going to look at is we're going to look at, if you want to do this at home, you want to go on to Astrodienst and play along with me here. These are the charts we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at Donald Trump's chart. I know it's boring, but hey, he's in the news. And an important figure, again, whether you like him or not. I mean, if the election is somehow forestalled, and either through some machination by what I've heard is a rogue group inside the CIA, or by the Electoral College, or by assassination, then it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your world. And you may think that it will be great that Donald Trump will not allow it to become president, and that Barack Obama or the UN or Hillary Clinton will assume the position. I guarantee you it's going to be one of the worst things that's happened to this country since the Civil War. And sometimes these things cannot be, they can't be delayed. They cannot be forestalled. What do we got here? We got Pizzagate connections. I have a reader who claims that that pizza, Comet Ping Pong, is just a pizza place, and there is no Pizzagate. I respectfully disagree. And I don't want to get into that right now. I'll save that for later in the week. This is not what this show is about. This show is about astrology, so look at the charts that we're going to do tonight. Now, I've tried to find the inauguration chart, or the time for the inauguration, which is going to be on the 20th. And I could not find the exact time, so I picked 11 a.m. in Washington. It could happen later, but 11 a.m. is a very interesting time. And again, I'm throwing a dart at the time because I couldn't find the time. So what I did is I got that time for the 20th of January 2017 at 11 a.m. Washington, D.C., and I got Trump's chart. You can find Trump's chart at Astrodienst. And what I suggest you do is, if you have an account at Astrodienst, go in and enter it like it's a chart that you're reading, like for a friend or a family member, And then once you have that, then you can enter in the time and the date for the inauguration. Now, here's what I do. This is just a little hint for you, is for an event, I do not list it as an event. I list it as a person. And the reason why I list it as a person is because you can do more charts with it. Because once you list it as an event, then AstroDeans will limit you in terms of what you can do with that chart, because it's not recognizing it as a person. So I list it as a person. But once you do that, and you have Trump's chart, and you have the chart for the inauguration, you can then use synastry and midpoint composite to get a handle on the energy. And you could just look at the chart in general. Like, you can just look at the energy for the day of the inauguration, which at 11 a.m. is off the charts. Even if we go to 12 or 1, everything is, you know, above the horizon, which is actually below the horizon, but we see it in the outer houses, the transpersonal houses from 8 to 12. It's an extremely unbalanced event astrologically, and I'll get into that. I also dialed up Inauguration Day, and again, this is going to be taking place. You have all these electors. I think they're going to Washington. I'm not really quite sure how the process works, so I'm just being, you know, upfront about that. But I did choose 12 noon Washington time for the Electoral College, and that takes place on the 19th of December. It's a very disturbing chart, and it's not a great chart for Trump in terms of how it impacts him. So if he can somehow manage to get past the Electoral College, and there is not an out-and-out revolt inside the Electoral College, then we've got to get to Inauguration Day, and then what that energy looks like. And these are two very important days. Now, Inauguration Day takes place at 0 degrees Aquarius, which is the first sign of the rebel of the zodiac, and we know that there are going to be literally hundreds of thousands of people descending upon Washington, D.C. It could get really ugly there. There could be the Army. There could be the National Guard. I mean, this could be a real flashpoint at 0 degrees Aquarius. You know, we're in we've never been here before. I mean, this is a completely different place in space, and hopefully astrology will give us some understanding about what we can expect. Now, the third piece here is there's a lot of chatter about a Trump assassination. And first of all, I think he's too smart. But he's dealing with now the kind of a rogue group, it looks like, inside of the CIA. And I'll tell you right now, if Trump is elected, if he goes to the Electoral College and he is inaugurated as the 45th president of the United States, the CIA is in real trouble, because they are basically staging their own breakaway rogue group counter coup, and Trump will not forget this. He will not forget it. He will find out exactly who did it, and he will scatter them to the winds like ashes, and he might even put them in prison. I'm being quite upfront about this, because there is no way that any president, I don't care who they are, can allow this group of people to be employed under their watch. So they're rolling some pretty big dice. They've got some big cojones, thinking that this can all take place and go down in the way that them and the money masters wanted to. Now, I guess this can fit into the rubric of astrology, because we can break it down from Trump's chart. Trump, and I wrote about this on my blog, and I talked about it on the Friday show. He is not a truth teller. It's not going to happen. If you look at his chart, he's got Moon in Sagittarius. He's born on an eclipse. He has South Node, which is part of the eclipse there, on the Moon. That's the eclipse. And he has Saturn getting ready to transit his South Node and his Moon, which is going to be right at the time of the Electoral College on December 19th. So, but as I wrote about it on my site, to have the South Node in Sagittarius makes the person does not have an investment in the big picture. They do not have an investment in getting to the truth, which is what Sagittarius likes to do. Two signs. The two signs that are most connected to this whole concept of the truth are Scorpio and Sagittarius. And for Scorpio, it's black and white. You know, you're either telling the truth or you're not telling the truth. You're either in alignment or you're out of alignment. And with Sagittarius, it's more along the lines of the expression of it's not about black and white, but it's about dispatching hypocrisy, because that's what Sagittarius theoretically does, dispatches hypocrisy. So, but this is not how Trump is wired. You know, now remember, the moon it's a, you know, it's not a planet, it's a satellite. It's a very unusual satellite, trust me, that's outside of the realm of astrology. But it is not an active and dynamic planet. It is passive. Now, at its fullness, it tends to be radiant, right? I mean, we're coming up on a full moon too, by the way. Full moon in 2.5 days. The super moon. It's the last of the 3 supermoons. Guess what? It's right on Trump's sun. Now, sometimes a full moon conjunction. I'm sorry, this would be full moon is in Gemini. That's right. Sometimes the full moon and sun conjunction can be fantastic. I mean, it can, you know, really catapult a person into the limelight, and sometimes it can be illuminating in a way that can be troubling. So it's going to remain to be seen, you know, how this full moon in about 2.5 days affects Trump. Could mean that his popularity rating will be through the roof, you know, at an all-time high. I mean, they take the polls and say, my God, this is the most popular president we've had elected in the last 50 years. I mean, I think Obama was pretty popular when he was elected. I mean, it might rival the Obama numbers. But it could also, with the opposition to the South Node and Saturn, it could also be somewhat scandalous. I mean, this is a very tricky time for Donald Trump, both personally, professionally, and as it relates to the country. One man's destiny / fate is tied to ours at this point in time. And there's no getting around it. So this is a pretty perilous situation for the United States. Now, for you, and even the world, but for you, this full moon and supermoon in Gemini should be pretty interesting. People are going to want to talk about their emotions a lot, what they're feeling. I mean, clearly it's been going on since the election. People are trying to offload their fears, their doubts, grief, their paranoia, their anger, their suspicion, and even to some extent hope. There are a lot of people out there that feel hopeful. Believe it or not, you're not going to hear it in the mainstream media, but I've seen Trump's rallies. I've seen how people have just completely rallied behind this guy, and they believe he's the next greatest thing since JFK. So, again, I think that the POV that we get from the mainstream media, even to this day, is completely distorted. Now, we're going to see that when we look at the times that we're in. I mean, specifically, excuse me, with the Sun in Sagittarius. Let's get into where the planets are right now. It's a good time for us to do that. So we have the Sun in Sagittarius at 20 degrees. And it is the last planet in Sagittarius that we had. We had Mercury, what was about a week ago, at the final degrees, and now it's in the sign of Capricorn. Of course, Venus has moved on, but we have a Chiron Sun square, and Chiron is in the sign of Pisces. So we're having this affliction. It's an affliction between the Sun and Chiron. And again, when we get to Sagittarius, what are we talking about? What are we trying to get to? What are we trying to uncover? Something authentic, something sovereign, something truthful, something that deals with either celebration and affirmation, because that's another side of Sagittarius. Sagittarius can be incredibly positive and incredibly affirmative and very jovial, right? I mean, that's Jupiter, good-natured, good-natured. But it's a mutable sign. It can flip, and it can also go into that other direction, which is calling it as they see it. Now, with Chiron in Pisces, we're dealing with the affliction of Pisces. When we get into Pisces, we're getting Sagittarius and Pisces are the two signs that are most connected to religion. The most connected. Pisces is very esoteric. It's mystical, but it's also connected to the Abrahamic faiths. And we are experiencing breakdown in the Abrahamic faiths. And you can throw Islam into that bucket as well. It is an Abrahamic faith. And really, again, this started off when we had the Saturn square to Pisces. This goes all the way back to Pluto and Sagittarius back in the late 90s, 2000s, when we had the rise of Christianity, not just any Christianity, but the mega churches, Pentecostal Christianity, Zionistic Christianity. That's when it was really blowing up, exploding. And then you also had the rise of the Abrahamic faith of Islam. Islam was always around, but because of the fact that we had 9/11 and we went into Iraq, it became a much bigger object of our focus than at any other time in history. So we're still dealing with that cycle, although it's clear that I wouldn't say that it's the popularity of dispensationalist Christianity that's collapsed. It is still very popular. It's that the mainstream media and the president-elect, who at that time was George Bush, claiming to be a Christian, did not determine the tenor and the tone of the times. And this is what happens when presidents are elected. They determine the tenor and the tone of their times. When Obama became elected, the media completely changed. We had a spate of films that were about black liberation. You had things like Django Unchained, and you had, what else? Birth of a Nation. And that's just picking the low-hanging fruit. But this is what happens when presidents are elected. The media buys, and the marketing reflect whoever is in power. We saw it with George W. Bush. And we saw it with sort of the themes of the shows. 24 it was hugely popular, right? When Bush was elected president, or when he ran for 8 years, 24 was one of the top-rated shows. It was all about, putting down the terrorist threat, whether the terrorist was inside the United States or outside the United States. It was a huge show. It was a huge show. So who knows what the media will be like when Trump becomes elected. But getting back to this Piscean piece, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the truth around this huge religious discussion about, what is Islam? Is Islam a faith that promotes murder, rape, Sharia law over any other law? Is it a faith that is manifest destiny, and there can be no other system in the world because it's tied to not just a faith but a system of governance as well? That it is not that Islam it is a theocratic system that rules both on the religious side and on the quote-unquote secular side as well. Is that really the case? Are all Muslims dangerous? I've got a young guy that lives next door who's Muslim. He's the nicest guy in the world. Or at least, he appears to be He's not the nicest guy in the world, but he seems incredibly nice. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Now, that could be just an act. I mean, I might have a sleeper cell sitting next to me. I mean, I really could. But I don't think that's the case. And I don't think it's the case that all Muslims are bad people. No, it's not the case. There is a sect of Islam, the Salafists and the Wahhabists, and they are radicalized. And what they've done is they've turned this into a major talking point. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that we're dealing with issues around who's coming into our country. There was a recent video of a guy down in Mexico who, right on the border town, who was flipping out. There were probably about 5,000 Somalians just running around his town trying to figure out how and when they're going to cross the border. This has nothing to do with Islam, although some of them might be Muslims, some of them may not be. This is Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn in Sagittarius. And Saturn is at 19 degrees, and it is in square with Chiron as well. And Saturn represents structure, it represents form, it represents discipline, boundaries. Sagittarius represents foreign cultures, foreign countries, religions, all those Sagittarian things. So what we've seen with Saturn in Sagittarius is this need or wanting to define who or what can move across borders freely. Now, Chiron comes in, and Chiron does not do Saturn any favors here, nor has Neptune done Saturn any favors. Because when we get into the Piscean dialogue, then one of the things that gets played are heartstrings. You know, break out the violins. Oh my God, look at these people. Oh my God, we have to take them in. And it's not even the Christian way anymore. You see, this is where we get into, again, Saturn and Pisces and Neptune and Chiron. I mean, and Sagittarius. It has nothing to do with being a good Christian, even though there might be some Christian foundations or Christian groups that are helping to assist the quote-unquote refugee crisis, and they are. No, this is mainly a secular movement that is being driven by the UN, the NATO, EU, and forces inside our government that want to bring as many people from outside this country as possible to inside the country without any vetting, without any real clear medical examination. And this is an issue. I'm sorry, it's an issue. I'm sorry if I'm crossing lines here as an astrologer, it's an issue. And you can see it astrologically. It's right here with the squares, with Pisces and Sagittarius, with Neptune and Saturn. Because we've become this kind of group of people whose beliefs, because we've been born and raised for the most part in the quote-unquote Judeo-Christian system, which means that somewhere along the way we had some indoctrination, whether it was when we were young and we went to school or catechism or Sunday school or whatever that was, or our parents. You know, it's in our DNA. And what's happened is that some of those real Christian values about being of service and loving thy neighbor, they've been transposed into this other belief system, which is called liberalism, which is very syncretic, and it has, you know, all these different pieces that it's kludged together. And I've talked about this before, and how there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that, there's yoga, and I'm not knocking yoga, trust me. I could use a little. My back has been killing me. I have to rephrase my language. My back has been making me feel quite uncomfortable. And yoga would probably be a very good thing for it. So I'm not disparaging yoga. But yoga and a number of other kind of social movements have been kludged together to create a syncretic belief system. And at the core of it, it's like an overlay of this Judeo-Christian kind of foundation. But it's not the same. It's different. It is a different amalgam of beliefs and ideologies. Many is called New Age. even though a lot of people don't really say, well, I'm New Age anymore, because it's kind of uncool and unhip to be a New Ager. And it should be. New Age is, it was a thing. It's over. It's dead. There's some things that we can pull from it that are meaningful. The rest we just kind of leave behind. But that's where we are right now. And we're trying to sort through this. And yet, the Chironic crisis and the Neptunian crisis, and remember, these people have to cross water, which is very Neptunian, especially in Europe, is that we have to do this thing. We have to open our hearts and open our lives. And again, who's doing the cheerleading around this? It's the Pope man. Mineral water. What sign's the Pope? Anybody know? Sagittarius. That's right. Mr. Popey is a Sagittarius. And here he is. He's right in the mix with all of this very conflated material and being the front man and the spokesperson for what is essentially the quote-unquote New World Order. But this is where we are with Saturn. This is where we are with the Sun right now. And we've got this Chiron square. It's interesting. Trying to wrap my head around that a little bit, just to see if I can get an insight into where we are come tomorrow with this Chiron square. I keep coming around to this fake news piece, which is also part of what we're dealing with. I mean, just look at the immigration, quote-unquote, crisis in and of itself. It's completely and utterly disingenuous. It says that they're all coming from Syria. Oh, we have to take in the Syrian refugees. No, they're not Syrians. Some of them are. A lot of them are Somalians. And they're from other countries in North Africa. They're from Libya. And of course, we created these crises. We created the chaos, which is always a good thing if you want to have a solution for it. But even that is disingenuous. I mean, we can't even get to the root cause of what is underlying all of this. So the reasoning behind ferreting these people, and look, do they have shitty lives? Sure they do. Of course they do. But there are other alternatives. There are other, quote unquote, I can't say more. There are other entities in the Middle East that can take these people on. You can bring them in. Turkey has them, but then they just shuttle them off to Europe. They hold them as ransom to Europe. That's what they do. They've completely weaponized them, basically saying, hey, look, we got to get some more money, or we're sending you some more of these. Come on, let's go. There we go. That guy's smart. He is smart. He's probably a real bastard, but he's totally smart. He engineered his own coup. How smart was that? Engineered his own coup, fleshed out his dissidents, the people that wanted to take him out, and he took them out. I tell you, man, being a dictator is not easy. What's the word? What's the phrase? Pimping ain't easy. Dictating ain't easy either. I mean, you got to be on your game if you want to be a dictator. It's not an easy role. First of all, you can't have any real emotion. You've got to be psychopathic, but softly psychopathic in some ways. Because on the other hand, you also have to appeal to the people. I mean, they can't fear you all the time, because, well, that doesn't end well. So there has to be some saccharin or sugar in there as well. A little bit of sweetness. Well, yeah, he's not a bad guy. Did you see what he did for so-and-so? Do you see what happened over here? Do you see how I took care of this group? You've always got to have a little bit of that floating around. But meanwhile, you got to be ironclad, be able to put your thumb down on anybody or anything, lest they wrest your power of control. And look, this guy's got to deal, Erdogan's got to deal with the United States and Russia and the EU and Israel. I mean, he's right in the center of everything. And if you don't think that that's hard dealing with all these various forces and running a country, well, try it sometime. It's not easy. I wouldn't want that job. So on anybody, only people that are really into power and think that they can handle it want a gig like that. We're going a little far astray, but of course we always do. Let me get into this. The sun is in Sagittarius. It's big. It's rambling. It's at 20 degrees. It's in the third decan. So it's in the Leo decan. Let's be dramatic about the truths that we share and communicate. Real quick, this guy, Trump has named Rex Tillerson to his cabinet. What sign is Rex? Rex Tillerson. Rex is king. He's not messing around, is he? I want to name my kid Rex, by the way. Let's see. Ooh, hoo, hoo. Sexy Rexy's an Aries. He is a dragon Aries. And not just any Aries. Nope. He's born on the 23rd of March, which puts him, yep, you guessed it, right there on the equinox. This guy is not to be messed with. Rex Tillerson. How about that? Let's check out his chart. Going off the scripture a little bit, but let's check out his chart. This is going to be a solar chart, won't be a natal chart, but let's just go back there. 1952, the year of the dragon. It's in March 23rd. This should be interesting. He's probably got, what, a new moon in Aries too, is that right? Let's do this. 20th century. 1952. Here we go. March 23rd. You have 2 degrees. And he's got, no, it's not quite the new moon yet. The new moon kicked in 3 days later. So he has moon in Aquarius. So he's got sun at 2 degrees Aries. That's right there. That's a very powerful placement for the sun. And he's an Aries dragon. Let's see what else. He's got Mercury in Aries, not conjunct the sun though. It's at 19 degrees. It is direct. Venus he has in Pisces, which is, I guess, good if you're an oil guy. Mars is at 18. It's just stationed in Scorpio at 18 degrees. And he has Jupiter also in the sign of Aries. There's a Jupiter-Mercury conjunction in Aries. This is a pretty powerful dude, I have to say. Saturn retrograde 12 in Libra, so he has a Saturn Mercury opposition. Interesting. So he can't always just move ahead. He has to negotiate and deal with the powers of administration. It's retrograde Libra, so he has lessons to learn around that. Uranus in Cancer, 9 degrees. That is, well, it's not quite in square with Mercury. Pluto, of course, in Leo at 19. So he has Mercury, Jupiter, Pluto trine. Mercury, Jupiter conjunct in Aries trine Pluto in Leo, almost exact. Now, this is a pretty powerful individual from an earthly standpoint, correct? And his true node is in Pisces. And it is in, let's see, what is that? The true node in Pisces at 0 degrees retrograde. Not quite. Not quite yet in, hold on, no, it's in Aquarius. Aquarius 29 nodes. Oh, interesting. Because the true node and then the north node are off here by about 1 degree. So this is where it gets kind of tricky between the true node and the north node. 29 for the north node in Aquarius and 0 Pisces. I'm going to go with 0 Pisces because he's an oil guy. And Pisces rules oil. Black Moon Lilith, 29 Cancer. And Chiron is at 11 Capricorn. It's conjunct my Saturn. How about that? You know, what can we say about this character? Doesn't have a lot of, well, doesn't have a lot of water. Mercury in Pisces, Venus, Mercury in Aries, Venus in Pisces, and Moon in Aquarius. Yeah, he's, you know, this is a business guy. He's got Mars in Scorpio. He does have water, a fair amount of water. He does not have, what? He doesn't have any Earth, though. Pellegrino. I should give him as a sponsor. No Earth. No Earth. Now, one can make a claim here that without any Earth, he doesn't care about the Earth. That the Earth is not important to him. What is important to him are those viscous symbols of Pisces and Scorpio, the water in his chart. Now, Trump has said that they're basically going to do everything in their power to get into an oil war with Saudi Arabia. And what I mean by that is that he's pledged to be energy independent. So what are they going to do here? They're going to drill. They're going to drill for oil here in this country. Now, I am not a huge fan. I'm not. Coal, a little bit better. But this is really kind of a retrograde strategy on Trump's part, because this goes, I mean, if you think about what he's trying to do, and this whole Make America Great Again, there's no manufacturing here. So you've got to look around and say, well, what can we extract? We have oil, but we've got to go through this process to get it. We have coal. We know we have coal. You know, we've got the Clintons' uranium find in Nevada and Eastern Oregon. But that's it. Now, would it be great for us to get onto the alternative energy track? Absolutely. And this is what the liberals and the progressives wanted to do. But I'm going to tell you, they did a shitty job of it in the 8 years that they had it. They were more invested in breaking up the nation and splitting people apart than going full on into alternative energy. That's my 2 cents. I didn't really see it, and I pay attention. Did they announce deals? Did they announce any kinds of real breakthroughs? Elon Musk got a lot of money. He got a lot of tax subsidies. So they were encouraging Elon Musk. No, I know they were encouraging Google too. Obviously, they were. I think what Obama was doing, I think he was placing a lot of credibility and hope in Google, so that Google can solve a lot of these issues. Because, of course, they're the best and the brightest and the smartest. But I think they wasted time. That's just, again, it's not astrological. But this is what Trump's doing. He's hired this guy. He's a powerful dude. And I was talking with, you know, Aries dragon. You don't mess with Aries dragons. These are, you know, the dragon is the most powerful sign in the Chinese zodiac. If you ever hung out with a dragon, you know it. They're the real deal. And Aries is the sign that is associated with the dragon in the West. So this guy's like a double Aries from a Western and an Eastern position. But I was talking with a friend today, and there are 3 ways that you can interact with the modern world at a geopolitical level. One is the statesman. And quite frankly, the era of the statesman is over. There are no Jeffersonian kinds of real sentiments in the world today. They're just not going to fly. So that leaves two others in terms of geopolitical interactivity. One is the politician, and the other is the businessman. And we've got the incarnation of the latter through Trump. The world is a business. We are in Pluto and Capricorn. We're not in Pluto and Aquarius yet. We will be, but we're in Pluto and Capricorn, where we see the merging of governance and business, and Donald Trump is the manifestation of that merger of the two, coming out of the business world and coming into politics. When Obama was elected president, he came out of politics, quite frankly, a very nascent version of politics. He was hardly a senator for very long, and was essentially propped up and rushed into our consciousness without a lot of history, which helped him get elected. He was a mystery to a lot of people. To this day, he's still quite mysterious, although if you dig, you can find out kind of what's going on behind him and who he is and where he's been. He does have a history of the CIA, by the way. He worked for the CIA, and that was in his, I believe, junior year in college. And it's pretty much in the, I won't call it the public record, but it is in the private public record. Meaning, if you dig around enough, you'll find it. I think it was called, what is it, International Business Machines or something like that. Not IBM, but it was a company. It's a front company for the CIA. So junior year in college, I believe he was in Afghanistan, working with the CIA. So he has CIA roots. Anyway, he came in from a nascent kind of government background and was thrown into that Pluto and Capricorn early degree crisis with the economy and bailing out these companies, and the United States becoming, part of GM or AIG, which they were for a while, and might still be in AIG's case. We didn't know what to do. You basically let Timothy Geithner and Ben Bernanke and Lawrence Summers basically run everything. Trump is going to be a different character, a different cat, because that's the world he comes from. He comes from business, and the world is a business. It is. And we would like it to be different. I would love it to be different. I would love for our world to be less stratified, less corporate, much more local, much more maker culture. I mean, that's the roots and the soul of everything. But in order to do that, you've got to have people that are turned on and switched on, and to pull them away from the corporate model. And Trump is stuffing his staff with, fairly corporatocratic people. Who's he going to? I mean, here's the real question: who would he go get if he wasn't getting these people? Who would he get? Ron Paul, Lou Rockwell, Paul Craig Roberts. I mean, they might be very helpful, but that's not where the world is at today, and especially if we're supposed to be taking on China and the trade and all that stuff. I mean, the only other thing that I could think, which would be completely daring and bold and audacious, but it would never happen, was if Trump, decided he was going to put Ron Paul as a Secretary of the Treasury. Wouldn't that have been great? And Ron Paul could just kind of like this, the Fed, teet, pull the plug, teet, we're out of here. We're out of here, and we're going to print our own money, and we're going to move away from the Ponzi scheme known as fiat banking. Wouldn't that be great? It would be wonderful. But he's not there yet. And he may never be there. And that's where we are. All right, hey, let's look at where we are in terms of astrology for the week ahead. We've got the moon in Taurus. It's at 24 degrees. You know what I did today? I had a massage today. That's what I did today. It was great. It's a great massage. Long overdue. I should get at least one a month, to be honest with you. But it was a really interesting story. A woman. I go to this Thai place down the road. First time I've been there. I took somebody else there for one. I dropped them off. And I've always had pretty good luck with the Thai massage combination. And there's this just the older woman, and she could be a grandma, right? And she's having to work on people's bodies. She works 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, so she could pay for her rent, so she could have a little money saved up. She has no husband, no kids. She lives in a house with 3 other women who work there, and that's their life. That is their life, and she's trying. The people that have the massage spa place, they want to sell it, but they want $85K, and she doesn't have it. She doesn't have a house. Her credit isn't good enough, and the people that own the place, they don't want to just say, "Hey, we'll sell it to you and you pay us." They don't want to do that. They want $85K up front. And you see somebody like that. This has kind of affected me. That this is a person, no family, no husband, no discernible means of income besides this, and she's like I said, she could be a grandmother. And this is what she has to do 6 days a week, 10 days a week, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Anyway, Moon and Taurus got the body worked on. Feels good. Hopefully, maybe you did something good for your body. We're starting off the week with that energy. We're going to go into tomorrow, late degree, Taurus sun, Taurus moon. Then we're going to kick into that Gemini moon later in the day. And again, it's going to be that chatty Gemini moon. Later in the hold on. Now we got a ways here. Let's see, 24 degrees. Yeah, so the Gemini moon doesn't come in until let's just be specific about this. We don't want to be vague because it is the supermoon, the third of the supermoons. So we got 2016. This is the last full moon of the Gregorian year, by the way. So let's go over here. Let's see. All right, so we've got the 12th. It kicks in on Tuesday, the 13th. Yep, so we're still with that Taurus moon on Monday. And I like the Taurus moon. It's a good way to start the week. Take care of yourself. Take care of your emotional needs, your physical needs. If you're listening to this tonight, get up early, do something good for yourself. If you're going to start the work on a Monday, get up and maybe work out, or get up and take some extra time to pamper yourself. Instead of a shower, hey, why not take a bath before you go to work? There's an interesting concept. How many people take baths before they go to work? I would say not many. It's a very different experience taking a bath and a shower. Don't you think? Shower is invigorating, you get up ready to go, but a bath, that could really relax you. So maybe tomorrow you get up a little earlier, indulge in that Taurus moon, start your week off, take a bath. And if you don't have a bathtub, well, then you just take a nice long hot shower. Mercury in Capricorn, 11 degrees. Saturn is on my Mercury. No wonder why I feel a little depressed today. I've got a Mercury-Saturn conjunction. Transiting Mercury's on my natal Saturn. I was wiped out today. Last 48 hours, 24 hours, I was wiped out. I don't know what's going on out there. There are some people that are really tied into the sun and solar flares, and sometimes I check that stuff out. But I swear that from Friday night until today, completely out of it. And last night I was just wiped out. Today, wiped out. But this Mercury-Saturn conjunction in my chart, transiting Mercury, depressing. Thinking about things from a very pragmatic standpoint. Look, we're going to have a Mercury conjunction with Pluto this week. This is going to be an interesting conjunction. So look at that. Mercury goes to 15 degrees. So the 19th, that's a week from today, roughly, right? So we have Pluto at 16. Oh boy. That Mercury retrograde is going to be right on Pluto when it goes retrograde. I don't know. I don't get a good feeling about the electoral. You know, initially, I had somebody send me really early, like the day after Trump got elected, somebody sent me something about the Electoral College in Mercury retrograde on the 19th. And I looked at it, it's like, oh, that's interesting. And I noticed it, and then I sort of put it away because I wasn't really ready to deal with it. But the more noise and the more chatter we hear, and the more that they keep, it's kind of like what they're doing with Trump is they're if you have a war, what you want to do is you want to have assaults on whatever your target is from different areas, right? It's kind of like when you want to hack a computer program, you don't go right at it. You know, you hit it from all these different angles, and you bombard it from all these different angles, and hopefully what happens is that while the computer or the software is dealing with the threat, that over here, over here, over here, and massively, that there's a back door that's open, and you go in through the back door, and that's how they hack systems. Well, this is what's happening because there's this is coming at Trump, and this is coming at Trump, and this is coming. So it's an all-out assault, and there may be something that will come through the back door that we haven't seen yet. Maybe it's a Trojan horse. Maybe it's somebody actually inside his camp. We don't know. But they're planning something big, and I don't get a good vibe off of the election night, of the Electoral College day. Why don't we do that now? If you were able to punch that up, I have it here. So this is that's inauguration. Let me get rid of that. Let me see if I can find this. I think it's here. Let me just look at this. I promise I'll ditch the glasses. That's inauguration. And what is this? Let's see. It's inauguration. Inauguration. I just had the Electoral College. Hold on. It is the EC. Let me just go back here. All right. I want to find this thing. Yeah, this is not a great day, this Electoral College day. There it is. Why don't I do this? Again, if you're playing at home, I'm going to do a synastry chart for these two. If you're playing at home, the dates that I'm using for the Electoral College are as follows. Monday, December 19th. That's at 12 p.m. Washington, D.C. Now, again, I don't know the exact procedure for how they do this, whether they go to D.C., they'll meet, they'll go ka-ching and vote. I don't know how it's done, but it's a very complicated day that day. We have Mercury on Pluto retrograde. Now, 12 noon, obviously, the sun is going to be at the midheaven at 12 noon. This is like a sundial. So sun and Pluto, 12 noon. And then we have Mars and Neptune and Chiron. Mars and Neptune are going to be in the sign of Pisces. Now, this is in the 12th house. The 12th house. And, boy, it's intense. This is not a good, I do not get a good feeling from this. So Mars is going to be at 0 Pisces, which means at 12 noon, it's going to be opposite Trump's ascendant. Now, it's going to be opposite Trump's ascendant whether it's at 12 noon or not because of the degree. Trump's ascendant is what, at 28, so Mars is at 26. And it's in the 12th house. The 12th, so this is, I don't know, this is really tricky. 12th house, hidden enemies, obscured angers, meddling. There's a mystic rectangle inside this chart. Now, the mystic rectangle is not anything that makes it like incredibly mystical. It's just a name for the mystic rectangle, which is a geometric configuration. So we have the rectangle, and we have inside the rectangle oppositions. And so we have the rectangle, and then it looks like it's a cross. So the difference between a mystic rectangle and the grand cross is that the mystic rectangle has relief. The grand cross doesn't. There's almost a grand cross inside of this chart. It is one planet away in terms of degree from having a grand cross. That would be the square from Pluto, Uranus to Pluto, Mercury, but it's not quite there because Pluto, Mercury are still fairly, I wouldn't say they're early, they're mid, right? Because Mercury will be at 15, 16, Uranus. It's close, so it is real close to being a grand cross. We've got Saturn, of course, in the sign of Sagittarius. And at that point, it's just about as close to being exact and on Trump's moon and opposite Trump's sun. And then we have transiting Mars opposite Trump's Mars, opposite Trump's ascendant. Not good. Not good. Mercury Pluto transiting in square with his Chiron and in square with his Jupiter. And then we have a Venus Pluto opposition with Venus in Aquarius opposing his Pluto in Leo. So there's opposition all over the place. And when we see opposition, sometimes the opposition is really literal, that there is opposition. You know, that there are people or forces opposed to whatever the object of the opposition is. In this case, it's an individual. We also have a Saturn-Uranus square going on. This is transiting Uranus, squaring Trump's natal Saturn and Venus in the sign of Cancer. This is a very heavy, heavy, heavy chart. Transiting Sun, opposing Uranus, and the Sun conjunct in Gemini. There's conflict all over the place for this day. Now, there are some people who believe that Trump will stage a military takeover of the U.S. I don't think that that is too far afield, by the way. I think that that could actually happen. He has two generals that he's put onto his chief of staff. And there's a very important reason why he's done that. Very important reason why. Because those generals can coordinate and organize forces inside the military. This is going to be interesting. I don't know if how the military feels about Barack Obama. I'm sure that they don't feel great about him. And Trump has given his allegiance to the military and the police department. So he could stage a military coup. It's not out of the question, not with these Mars aspects here. And he knows what's happening. They know what's happening. They're not dumb. They are not dumb. The energy in this day is heavy. Heavy energy. Even if there wasn't Trump involved here, the energy is heavy with that intense Mercury-Pluto conjunction retrograde. And, what else do we have? Oh, and then there's Mars, which is at, what's that, 20... Where's Mars going to be? Yeah, Mars at 0 Pisces. That's going to be on the South Node. Yeah. I think South Node is going to be where? It's going to be at 4. So we're going to have a Mars South Node conjunction. That's very deceptive. Mars and Pisces can be, anytime you get into a Mars aspect with Neptune. If it's trine or sextile, it can be good. It can be creative and imaginative. If Mars is squaring Neptune or opposing Neptune or is conjunct Neptune, it's not always the best. It is not always the best energy. It can be very deceptive and extremely illusory. Well, let's say he goes through. Let's say he gets through this gauntlet. And I'm telling you, this is a real gauntlet this day. This is a super gauntlet. This is going to be one of Trump's biggest tests, I think, is the Electoral College and the Mercury retrograde. I'm on record. Now, I didn't talk about this on Gaiam because my show on Gaiam is not going to air until the 27th. So don't blame me if I don't talk about it. Say, Robert, how come you didn't talk about this when you're on your show? Because it airs after the Electoral College, and I had to act as if Trump was going to be president. And I still think he is, but I don't think it's going to be easy. When we go to the inauguration, you can punch this in. I used 11 a.m., 20th of January. You look at this chart, it's very interesting. Extremely interesting. Everything's above the horizon, which is below the horizon. We have Uranus on the ascendant. Neptune, Venus, Mars, all 12th house. They're all in the 12th house on inauguration day at 11 o'clock in the morning. So what do we have here in the 12th house? We have some conspiratorial action. We have enemies in the 12th house, and we have radical Uranus right on the ascendant at 11 a.m. Now, this is going to change throughout the day, but we're still going to have the Mars-Venus conjunction in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces. And they're all going to be squaring, well, Mars is going to be squaring Saturn, and Venus piggybacking on that. And there's going to be that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. That's really interesting. And square Pluto. On the one hand, I think Jupiter in Libra, even though it stands for rights and balance, I think there's a movement towards Jupiter in Libra to get back to a kind of a balanced relationship with things and fairness and equality and liberty and all of those things that we associate with Libra. And Uranus on the other side wants to do something very different. It's like, it's like, pardon my language, it's like, fuck you. We don't want to be fair. We don't want to give this guy a shot. We don't want to assimilate. We don't want to have a balanced relationship with things. No, we want to tear things down. And that is the honest to God truth. There is no mediation. There's no desire for two sides to come together. We're further apart than we've ever been. And then we've got the Pluto square coming into play. And Pluto's right at the top of the chart, as it would be. Right at this time, Sun, an hour later, would be at the top of the chart. Sun is at 0 degrees Aquarius. Moon is in Scorpio. People want to get their way with Moon in Scorpio, right? It's intense. And there's a trine to Venus and a trine to Neptune. It's a very occult. There's a very occult aspect. There's going to be some magical operations going on the 20th of January. It's an interesting day. We've got the South Node, of course, in Pisces, and that's going to be conjunct. Where is it going to be? It's not going to be conjunct Mars, because the true node is, let's just check this out. It's phasing out of Virgo. It's at 4 degrees, so it's on the other side of Pisces. And then we have Mercury. Now, Mercury at this time has gone direct. So at least Mercury is direct. The last time Obama was, I think both times Obama was sworn in, Mercury was retrograde, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure about that. I know the first time it was. Oh, excuse me. The first time it was. And he had that weird thing where they screwed it up with John Roberts and had to go down beneath the White House, and who knows what the hell they did down there. These people, I swear to God. A punched up inauguration for Trump. Let me zoom in on that one. Let me just zoom in on this. So again, this is a very conflicted chart with the inauguration as it relates to Donald Trump's chart. It's not as heavy as the, I wouldn't say that. It's still pretty heavy. We don't have the mystic rectangle. There are some more trines going on at that time. But there's still a lot of conflict here. Transiting moon is in Sagittarius that day, which I guess is, let's see, no, transiting moon, where's transiting moon? Hold on. Transiting moon on inauguration days in Scorpio. We said that, that's right. And what's interesting about this chart is that as it relates to this day, Trump's planets are below the horizon for this day. If indeed it's around 11, I have what I have it at 12 noon, 11 a.m. inauguration day. Trump's planets are below the horizon. So that would be a good thing if we're dealing with these very personal issues around America, right? That America is going to be Trump's focus with all these planets down in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th house, 6th house. That makes sense. If the inauguration, again, I couldn't find a time, happens later in the day, then Trump's planets begin to rise. So essentially, really from about 10 a.m. till roughly noon or even 1 o'clock, all of Trump's planets are kind of below the horizon of this inauguration energy, which means that he'll be dealing with 2nd house, 3rd house, 4th house, 5th house, 6th house, 7th house issues, which I think is probably congruent with how he sees himself as being more domestic and putting, the country first, and all those aspects are down there, quote unquote, below the horizon, versus out there in the world. He's not going to be an internationalist, not in that sense of the word. But there's conflicts. This is going to be a conflicted presidency, no doubt. He's going to be sworn into conflict, if indeed he gets that far. Now, in terms of the any assassination stuff, well, this is a weird time. I have to look at it because of all those planets in the 12th house. Mars, Pisces, that Mars opposition. I don't like that Mars opposition. That's really taking place around the time of the Electoral College. I think they're out to get him. I think they're out to get him. I think there's going to be we're going to see. We already saw 2 attempts on his life. One I kind of predicted. The other one I didn't really predict. I'm going to go on record, and I'm going to say that leading up to the Electoral College, or even the day after, maybe a day or two before the Electoral College, there could be something very life-threatening to Donald Trump, based on the Mars oppositions. That's my 2 cents. But with Inauguration Day, he's looking at a very, very conflicted run here as a president. The squares are enormous. T square. This chart is bloody. Not to mention the end conjuncts, which are significant. The inconjuncts are mysterious. Like how do you cross the chart? How do you bring these 2 seemingly unrelated energies together at a 150-degree angle? You can only move across the chart one step at a time and intuit how to get there. It's not clear cut. And there's some there's 1, 2, 3. 1 is not quite a yod, but it almost is. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 inconjuncts. And they're all pretty major. Pluto in conjunct Neptune. Trump's Pluto in conjunct transiting Neptune. Wow. Chiron in conjunct. Oh, look at that. We're getting ready to have a Chiron. He's going to have a Chiron opposition. Because he's got Chiron in Libra. And his Chiron is at... his Chiron is at 5 Libra. So when we get into the Chiron shift, when Chiron goes into Aries, he's going to have a Chiron-Chiron opposition. He's going to have to deal with war. He is going to have to deal with war. And it might even be a civil war. It's going to be. I don't think he is trying to posit himself as a war president. He's definitely not. But then again, he's also got Bibi Netanyahu to deal with. What is this here? I've got another chart here. That's one we're looking at. And this is the inauguration chart. It's heavy duty, man. It is a heavy, heavy, heavy duty chart. Oh, this is the composite that I have. I did a midpoint composite with Trump and Inauguration Day. And again, look at this. We have Gemini on the ascendant, 25 degrees. Uranus, Venus, Mars, 12th house. And we do have an inconjunct. We do have a yod. It's Neptune and Jupiter in conjunct Uranus, Venus, 12th house. There's going to be, he's just going to have to deal with disturbance the entire time. I mean, if you look at how this works, right? So there's a time, and again, I'm using the 11 o'clock time. It could be a different time. I don't know when the time is going to be. So I guess what we'll do is, if we get there, I'll revisit this, or I'll try to find out exactly when he puts his hand on that Bible and actually becomes president of the United States. Pisces at the midheaven here. This is the composite chart where you basically find the midpoint between the ascendant of the moment and the ascendant of the individual. And each and every planet, you find the midpoint between the two of them, and then you put a chart together. Of all the charts that we've looked at, this one is the cleanest. Although, again, with Mars, Venus, Uranus in the 12th house, it is disturbing. It's disturbing energy, and especially in Gemini. The Sun is in Aries in the 10th house, and that can be very strident, very powerful, very willful, to some extent egoic. It could be warlike, opposing Mercury and opposing Jupiter in Libra. Now, this is really interesting. He's going to have to deliberate on whether to go to war or not. Moon in Sagittarius, composite, 0 degrees, 6th house, wanting to bring people back to work. That's the 6th house. And then we have Jupiter, Pluto down in the 5th house. Jupiter in Libra, Pluto in Libra, regeneration. And the true node here is in Cancer. About that, composite true node Cancer 27 second. That is completely in alignment with this Trumpian vision of making America great again, honoring the Cancerian values. 2nd house, tapping into the resources for better or worse. It's an interesting chart. Again, you can do this at home. Check this out. You can do it at home. All you've got to do is go to Astrodienst, find out the chart for Trump is there. I'll give you the coordinates. He was born on the 14th of June, 1946, 10:54 a.m., Jamaica, New York. And then I combined it with January 20th, 2017, Washington, D.C., 11 a.m. You can see this chart for yourself. All right, why don't I do this? I'm thinking that there are actually people in the chat room. Could that be the case? Are people actually there? Let me just go in there. Oh yeah, we got people in the chat room. Hello, people. Let's see. We've got Catherine, Kathleen, and Tracy. Tracy says electors meet in their state. Okay, we're getting some clarification here. And vote for president, VP on separate ballots. Electors record their votes on 6 certificates of vote, which are paired with 6 remaining certificates of ascertainment. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy. Yay, divine timing. All love to you. Hi, Monica. Nice to see you. Tova, Monica. Good to see you. 12 noon inauguration time. Thank you, Tracy. Good. Hey, this is awesome. You guys are great. So we can tweak that inauguration time. Look at that. I nailed that, didn't I? I did. I nailed that inauguration time. Didn't I? No, that's Electoral College. Let's just tweak let's do this real time. Let's get into inauguration. And let me just edit. Let me just find it first of all. And then let's edit that. And then we'll look at 12 noon. It's not going to be a whole lot different. So let's go here. We're going to put it at there 12 noon. And we're going to edit this thing. There we go. So we're going to change the time. All right. Alright, so we're going to go 12 noon. Inauguration. Boom. Okay. There we go. And let's see. Yeah, Trump's planets are still below the horizon. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth house. That part doesn't really change. So clearly, these are the areas, if he gets elected, he's going to be focusing on. He's going to be focusing on money, resources, second house. Third house, communication, Saturn there. His Saturn is going to be in the third house. That's not going to be pretty, by the way, because I smell the surveillance state under Trump. Pluto transiting the fourth house. That's the home. Make America great again. Let's transform this thing. Transiting true node is going to be in, let's see, that's the fifth house. Nothing there. And all of Trump's Libra planets in the sixth house, jobs, work. Pretty clear. It's pretty clear how this is going to shake out. The midheaven at that time is going to be right there in midheaven's just coming out Capricorn. So late Capricorn and Sun in Aquarius at 0 degrees. Very interesting. Oh, let's go back now and let's do the composite chart for this time, which I think is going to be pretty close. And I want to thank Tracy for tracking down that time. It was an hour off. So let's go back in here and we're going to look at the midpoint composite. Here we go. Let's see, composite and midpoint. Come on, midpoint. Here we go. Okay, here we go. And the reveal. Oh, this changes things. Good. So I'm glad we did this and looked at this. Now, Mars is still in the 12th house, and it's in Gemini. Venus, Uranus have moved out of the 12th house and the 11th. The Sun is still in the 10th. We're dealing with a Piscean midheaven. Cancer is rising, though, and the true node moves into the first house. So those Cancerian values and the emphasis on the true node, remember this is midpoint composite, is really about this personal moment. The individual and individual values relating to Cancer are going to be highlighted here. Now, the fourth house, which is home, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, not bad. Maybe we can expect some interesting activity around Glass-Steagall. Maybe Trump's going to do something to pump up the housing market. That would be interesting with Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter all down there. In conjunct with Jupiter and Uranus, something unexpected will occur during the presidency. Venus-Uranus conjunction in the 11th house. Again, composite. And that's in Taurus. That's technology. That's technology. New technology partners. Interesting. And again, we have a moon in Sagittarius, which we saw, and Neptune, Chiron again. That's all sixth house material. Could be some smoke and mirrors with Neptune in the sixth house, with the job sector, but also dealing with international forces. That's interesting. Jupiter and Pluto sextile. Huh. That's interesting. I mean, to me, that represents tapping into some interesting international partners that the United States may not have been dealing with, particularly even with oil. Huh, interesting. Well, you never know, because this guy, Tillerson, has all the inside scoop on who's doing what with oil. The South Node is going to be in Capricorn, 27 degrees. So if we can look at this, we're taking Trump's chart and we're creating a midpoint composite with the inauguration time, that the real energy, the go-to, is going to be Cancer, and it's going to be the individual. And it's not the relationship to corporations. 7th house, South Node, Capricorn. That's just my 2 cents. Let's go back into the chat room there. So we have feeling somber too, low energy. Yeah, it's been a pretty low energy time. It says bad video settings. It's because I've got strange light. It's behind. I think that's about it in terms of tonight's live stream. And I got a big week ahead of me. It's been pretty active on the reading front. As you know, I've got a new post up on my website, robertphoenix.com, and it's about Trump with the timeline and the Kennedy timeline. And that's about it. I've got some specials on my site. If you want to do, if you want to buy 2 readings, I'm discounting 2 readings. If you want to buy 3 readings for half-hour sessions, I'm discounting those, and I'm discounting my course. And the course makes a really good gift for people who are interested in astrology. And that's about it. That's all I can think about and riff on for now. There's really no great birthdays. We're talking about Monday. I think the best birthday for Monday is probably Frank Sinatra, Sagittarius. But that's about it. All right, well, why don't we wrap this up here, an hour and a half into this. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you for all of your love and support and showing up, being a part of this, whether it's here or on Facebook or on my website. I want to thank you. I'm just a small fish out there. Just a small fish in a big pond. Just trying to do my part to keep us all together and to do my dharma and have a little fun while I'm doing it. All right, love and blessings to you all. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open what's possible. I will see some of you out there in the virtual realm. So until tomorrow and the 15 minutes of flame, have a wonderful, beautiful Sunday. Good night.